My wife cheated while I was recovering from surgery, so I left without a word, took my savings, and now she's begging for a second chance she'll never get. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I never thought one bad landing would destroy both my leg and my relationship. It happened on a Saturday, one of those casual weekend basketball games with my coworkers. I jumped for a rebound, landed wrong, and felt the sharpest pain of my life ripped through my knee. I remember lying on the court, sweat turning cold on my skin, staring up at the gym ceiling as people crowded around me. Someone said, "Don't move, man." But I already knew something was seriously wrong. The doctors confirmed it. Torn ligaments, surgery required, and at least 3 months of recovery. When they said non-weight bearing, my stomach dropped. I was used to being on my feet 12 hours a day, managing construction crews, moving constantly. Now, I couldn't even get up to use the bathroom without help. Megan, my wife, squeezed my hand in the hospital. She said, "We'll get through this together. It's our challenge, our test." I believed her. She looked so sincere, brushing the hair from my forehead, promising to take care of me while I healed. In that moment, I felt lucky, even blessed to have someone like her. When we got home, she set up a small recovery station in the living room. My pain meds, water, remote, charger, everything within arm's reach. She even cooked my favorite meal that first night. I remember thinking, this is what marriage is supposed to be, loyalty through pain. But as I drifted to sleep that night, I caught something faint in her tone, a sigh when she thought I couldn't hear. It was subtle, but it carried something heavy, something like exhaustion or regret. I ignored it then, convincing myself she was just tired from the stress. I had no idea that sigh was the first crack in everything we built. The first week after surgery felt like a blur of painkillers. Ice packs and sleepless nights. Every sound in the house became amplified, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the fridge, the soft thud of Megan's footsteps moving around me. I depended on her for everything. She brought my meals, adjusted my pillows, helped me to the bathroom. Every thank you, I muttered, felt inadequate. I hated being helpless, but I kept reminding myself this was temporary. At first, she was patient. She'd smile when I thanked her, brush my hair back, and say, "Don't worry about it. You'd do the same for me." And I would have without hesitation. But somewhere around week 2, something changed. The smiles stopped. The replies became shorter. "Can you get me some water?" Turned into a sigh followed by, "Again?" I told myself she was just tired. I told myself she had a right to be. She still worked full-time, came home to take care of me, and barely slept. But then she started scrolling through her phone more often, giggling quietly at texts, face illuminated by the blue glow of her screen. When I asked what was funny, she'd reply, "Just work stuff, babe. Don't be so paranoid." I wasn't paranoid then, not yet. But I noticed her phone never left her hand anymore. Even when we watched movies together, she'd text the entire time, smirking at messages she wouldn't explain. At night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd listen to her breathing beside me. Sometimes I'd hear her phone buzz under the blanket. She'd turn away from me, pretending to be asleep. I told myself it was nothing, that she just needed distraction, that she was lonely too. But deep down, I felt something cold settle in my chest, the first whisper of doubt I tried so hard to silence. By the 3rd week, the air between us felt heavier, like we were living in the same house but breathing different oxygen. Megan stopped eating dinner with me. She'd drop off a plate and say, "I already ate," even though I hadn't heard the stove or microwave once. When she was home, she stayed glued to her phone or locked away in the bedroom on calls. The laughter I used to love that easy. Genuine laugh now sounded forced, like it belonged to someone else. I tried to talk to her one night. "Meg, I feel like you're distant," I said quietly. She looked up from her phone, expression unreadable. "You're imagining things." "I'm just tired. No, this is hard for both of us, but what?" She snapped. "You think I don't have a right to be exhausted? I do everything around here?" Her voice cracked, and guilt rushed through me. I apologized, even though I wasn't the one raising my voice. You're right, I just miss us, I murmured. She rolled her eyes and muttered, then heal faster. That line cut deeper than my injury. I sat there, speechless, staring at her as she walked away. The sound of her door shutting echoed louder than any argument we'd ever had. Days blurred into each other after that. The house felt colder. She stopped saying good morning. She started leaving earlier and coming home later. Always with some vague explanation. Extra shifts, traffic. I needed a drive. I wanted to believe her. But my instincts screamed otherwise. I started scrolling through our old photos, vacations, anniversaries, lazy Sundays. The smiles looked real then. Now, even her touch felt mechanical. I began to wonder if she stayed out of love or obligation. And then one night, when I reached for a hand on the couch, she flinched like my touch was something foreign. That's when I realized something inside her was already gone. By the 4th week, recovery wasn't my biggest pain anymore. It was the silence between us. Megan had built walls so thick I couldn't tell if she was shutting me out or just waiting for me to stop trying. She started dressing differently for work. Makeup, perfume, new clothes I hadn't seen before. When I teased her lightly, trying to impress the office, she just smirked and said, "Maybe I finally want to feel like myself again." I tried to laugh it off, but the uneasy feeling in my stomach wouldn't fade. Her phone was always on silent now, flipped face down. If I walked into the room unexpectedly, she'd lock it and change the subject. I wanted to believe the best in her, I really did. I told myself. She's stressed. You're overthinking. But the truth was, I didn't recognize her anymore. One afternoon, she forgot her phone on the kitchen counter when she rushed out to pick up groceries. I wasn't proud of what I did next. My hands shook as I reached for it. Notifications lit up the screen. "Can't wait to see you again." My breath caught. The name was just saved as a... I stood there for a full minute, staring at that message, waiting for my heart to start beating again. My mind scrambled for rational explanations. Maybe it was an old friend, a harmless joke, anything but what it looked like. But deep down, I already knew. When she came home later, laughing on the phone, I watched her from the couch. "Who's that?" I asked as casually as I could. She froze, then smiled too quickly. "Just work." I nodded and pretended to believe her, though every nerve in my body screamed the truth. That night, while she slept, I stared at the ceiling, replaying the words on that screen. I didn't confront her, not yet. But from that moment on, I started watching everything. The day it all fell apart started like any other. Megan kissed my forehead, said, "Don't wait up," and left for what she claimed was another late meeting. But something in her tone was different, too cheerful, too rehearsed. That night, I sat in the living room staring at the clock, my crutches leaning against the coffee table. Each tick felt louder, heavier. I wasn't just suspicious anymore. I was certain. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a knock. It was Lisa, one of Megan's coworkers. She looked surprised to see me. "Hey, is Megan home?" she asked. I frowned. "She said she's working late with you." Lisa's face dropped. "What?" "She hasn't been in the office for almost 2 weeks. She said she was taking time off to help you recover." For a second, everything went still, like my brain couldn't process the words. I forced a smile and said, "Oh, must be a mix-up." But my voice cracked. Lisa apologized and left, unaware that she'd just detonated the truth I'd been avoiding. After she left, I sat there in complete silence. My hands trembled as I opened Megan's laptop, the one she thought I couldn't reach. Her messages were still open from earlier that day. A string of texts filled the screen. "Last night was perfect. He's asleep by 9. I'll sneak out again tomorrow. I wish I could just live with you instead." I don't remember breathing. I don't remember blinking. Just staring at those words over and over, every one of them burning into my chest. The betrayal wasn't subtle anymore. It was in black and white, written like a confession. When I heard her keys in the door hours later, I shut the laptop and closed my eyes, pretending to be asleep. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "Good night, babe." I whispered back in my mind, "Good night to us." The next morning I woke up before her. She looked peaceful, like someone who hadn't just destroyed another person's world. I wanted to shake her awake and scream, "How could you?" But instead, I just watched her breathe. My heart wasn't angry yet. It was numb, completely hollow. That day, I made breakfast for both of us, the way I used to before the injury. When she walked into the kitchen, her surprise was almost amusing. "You're up early," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Yeah," I replied with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Feeling better? Guess I'm healing faster than we thought." She smiled back, but it didn't touch her the way it used to. She didn't know that the man sitting across from her already knew everything. Every love you. Every gentle gesture that morning felt rehearsed, like a show she was performing for herself. I decided not to confront her. Not yet. I needed time to think, to plan, to make my exit without giving her the satisfaction of a fight. So I spent the next few days playing my part. Polite husband, grateful patient. I let her think she'd fooled me. Inside, though, I started keeping track. Every lie she told. Every late meeting. Every time she silenced her phone and turned away from me. Each moment became a tally mark in the quiet ledger of my revenge. At night, when she was asleep, I'd stare at the ceiling and think about how betrayal doesn't just hurt, it rewires you. It teaches you to hide your pain, to weaponize your silence. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want closure. I wanted to disappear so completely that she'd never know when, where, or how I'd left. So I smiled through my rage and waited, because sometimes the best confrontation is none at all. By week 6, my knee had started to strengthen, slowly, painfully, but enough to move around without help. I didn't tell Megan. Every time she looked at me with that fake concern, I'd lean on the crutch just a bit heavier, play the role of the helpless husband a little longer. If she was going to lie to my face, then I was going to lie right back. While she texted A under the table, I began constructing my escape. I transferred my savings from our joint account into a private one she didn't know existed, little by little. It's just enough at a time to not raise suspicion. I started selling a few collectibles and tools online, quietly stashing cash in an envelope under the couch cushion. Each small act felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Megan thought she was smart. She'd come home late smelling of a different perfume, not the one she wore when she left. I'd ask, "Rough day?" And she'd smile, "You have no idea." She was right. I had no idea how deep her lies went. But soon, she wouldn't have a clue how much I knew either. I found a place, a modest apartment, a few towns over, owned by a friend who owed me a favor. I told him I'd move in quietly, no questions asked. He didn't press for details. He could hear the exhaustion in my voice. The nights before I left, I rehearsed what it would feel like. The silence. The freedom. The weight finally lifting off my chest. I imagined her waking up to an empty bed, wondering where everything went wrong. But I wasn't leaving just to hurt her. I was leaving because staying would have killed what little of me was left. And once the last piece of my plan was in place, I realized something chilling. She had no idea she was already losing me. Piece by piece, every single day. The night before I planned to leave, it happened the moment that burned away the last ounce of love I had left. Megan came home later than usual, her hair tousled, lipstick smudged, and a grin she couldn't hide. I watched her quietly from the couch, pretending to be half asleep as she slipped off her heels. She froze when she saw me awake. "You're still up?" she asked, voice sharp with surprise. "Yeah," I said softly. "Just couldn't sleep." She mumbled something about traffic, about a long meeting that ran late. I nodded like a fool, pretending to believe her. But then, her phone, face down on the counter, lit up with a text. "Can't stop thinking about you. The same time tomorrow?" I didn't even need to read the name. My stomach dropped, my chest tightened, and something inside me broke. Not loudly, but in a quiet, irreversible way. She noticed my eyes flick toward the screen and snatched the phone immediately. "It's work," she hissed. But her trembling hands told me everything. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just stared at her, the woman I once trusted with every part of me, and saw a stranger. She stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door. I sat there, frozen, staring at the dark screen of her phone. My mind was screaming, leave, just leave now. That night, I didn't sleep at all. The pain in my leg was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. I thought about the years I'd spent building this life, the sacrifices, the loyalty, the faith, and how easily it all turned into dust. As dawn crept in, I realized I'd reached my rock bottom. There was nothing left to save. Not the marriage, not the trust, not even the hope. And sometimes, when you hit that low, the only direction left to go is gone. I woke up that morning knowing exactly what I had to do. No arguments, no letters, no scenes, just silence. I waited until Megan left for work, kissed me on the forehead like everything was normal, and walked out the door. As soon as her car disappeared down the street, I swung my injured leg off the couch and started moving. Every motion hurt, but it felt good, cleansing almost. I packed my essentials, clothes, laptop, the folder with my medical papers, and the envelope of cash I'd saved. The apartment was still and cold, but for the first time in months. That stillness didn't suffocate me, it felt freeing. Before leaving, I stood in the living room and looked around. The framed wedding photo still hung by the doorway. In it, we looked happy, naive even. I took it down, stared at it for a moment, and left it face down on the table. No note. No explanation. Just the silence she had taught me. I moved quickly. My friend met me outside, helped load my things into his truck. "You sure about this?" he asked. "More sure than I've ever been," I replied. As we drove away, I looked back once. The house got smaller and smaller until it vanished entirely. I felt this strange combination of grief and relief, like burying someone you used to love. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just breathed deeply for the first time in months. By the time Megan got home that night, I was already 2 towns away in a small, quiet apartment with bare walls and peace I hadn't felt in years. I turned off my phone, deleted my old accounts, and disappeared. I didn't need to destroy her. I just needed her to wake up and realize I was truly gone. Forever. The first few days after disappearing felt like breathing fresh air after years in a smoky room. I slept without the weight of suspicion pressing on my chest. But peace never lasts long, not when someone like Megan finally realizes what they've lost. It started with calls from mutual friends. "Hey man, are you okay?" "Megan's freaking out." She said, "You just vanished." I'd answer calmly, "I'm fine," and hang up. Then came the texts, dozens of them. At first angry, "How could you do this to me? You're so immature." And desperate, "Please come home. I messed up. We can fix this." And finally, pitiful, "I can't sleep. I need you." I didn't reply to a single one. Silence had become my only language. Soon, her anger turned outward. She called my mom, my friends, even my boss, spinning a story about how I'd abandoned her during a hard time. But people weren't stupid. One of my buddies finally told her, "You cheated on the guy while he was recovering. You don't get to play the victim." After that, she stopped calling him too. Word got around quickly. Her affair partner, whoever he really was, ghosted her once he realized she wasn't the independent, carefree woman she pretended to be. Her reputation at work slipped. Whispers followed her everywhere, and soon she was alone in the very silence she once gave me. I'd like to say I felt satisfaction, but it was quieter than that. It wasn't revenge, it was closure. Watching karma unfold without lifting a finger was better than any confrontation could have been. One evening, I opened my phone out of curiosity. The last unread message from her said, "I miss who we used to be." I smiled faintly. So do I thought, but he doesn't exist anymore. Months passed. My limp faded, my energy returned, and with it, a sense of strength I hadn't felt in years. I poured everything into rebuilding my body, my business, my peace. I moved into a modest apartment overlooking a quiet street, started taking on independent projects again, and reconnected with people who actually cared about me. Every morning I woke up without tension in my chest, felt like reclaiming another piece of my soul. Then, one afternoon, I opened my email and saw her name. Megan, I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity got the better of me. I've been thinking about you every day. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging for one conversation. I'm not the same person anymore. The words felt hollow, like echoes of an old lie. She attached photos, her new apartment, her new start, even a picture of the old wedding ring she'd kept. I didn't respond. Instead, I scrolled through her social media, something I hadn't done in months. The woman who once gloated about her perfect life now posted vague quotes about healing and losing yourself before finding peace. It almost made me laugh. A week later, she tried again, this time a text, "Please, I miss you. I miss us." I typed out a reply, then erased it. Instead, I updated my profile picture, me smiling at a beach, crutches gone, standing tall under the sun. Within minutes, she saw it. She didn't message again. That was my answer. I didn't need to block her. Letting her watch me live without her was punishment enough. For the first time since the surgery, I didn't feel broken. I felt untouchable. It's been over a year now. Sometimes I still wake up early out of habit, expecting to hear her footsteps in the kitchen or her phone buzzing under the blanket. But the silence that follows isn't painful anymore. It's peaceful. I sip my coffee, open the windows, and let the morning light spill in, realizing that this silence, once unbearable, has become my freedom. People still ask if I ever plan to date again. Maybe someday. But right now, I'm in love with something else, my peace. I've learned that betrayal doesn't just break you. It rebuilds you piece by piece into someone stronger than before. The version of me that begged for attention, that mistook manipulation for love, that tolerated lies just to keep the peace, he's gone. Megan reached out one last time a few months ago. A simple message. "I hope you're doing okay." I didn't reply. Not out of bitterness, but because there was nothing left to say. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't for the person who hurt you. It's for yourself. So you can stop carrying the weight of what they did. I've built a quiet, steady life now. My business is growing, my body's strong, and my nights are calm. I no longer replay the betrayal in my head. It's just a chapter that ended exactly the way it needed to. Sometimes, when I think back to that hospital room, to her promise that this would be our test as a couple, I almost smile. She was right. It was a test. She failed it, but I too. Because in the end, I learned the most powerful revenge isn't rage or retaliation. It's walking away in silence and never looking back.